On March 28, 2015, British racing driver Jann Mardenborough suffered one of the most violent crashes in the history of motorsport. The Mardenborough crash demonstrates how vehicle aerodynamics, the layout of a demanding circuit, and high speeds can interact to produce an accident resulting from several independent factors acting simultaneously. But to fully understand the elements involved and the sequence of events, we have conducted a detailed technical analysis to break down how the incident unfolded and determine the root causes of the crash. Jann Mardenborough is one of the most unusual cases in recent motorsport history. Unlike the vast majority of professional drivers, he didn't come up through karting as a child, nor did he follow the typical path through the junior categories. His entry into competitive racing came through the Gran Turismo simulator for PlayStation, where he spent years honing skills like memorizing tracks, managing racing lines, and driving at the limit of grip. In 2011, at 19 years old, he decided to enter GT Academy, a program jointly created by Nissan and PlayStation designed to select the best simulator players and turn them into professional drivers through an intensive training process. After making it through several qualifying rounds against tens of thousands of European entrants, Mardenborough went on to win the competition outright, earning an official contract with Nissan and going on to compete in various endurance races and GT championships. On March 28, 2015, the British driver was taking part in the first round of the VLN Championship season at the Nürburgring, one of the most demanding circuits in the world. Originally built in the 1920s, the circuit still retains its historic layout, stretching for just over 20 kilometers, constant variations in track width and featuring numerous blind crests. Unlike modern circuits, this track has kept much of its historic configuration, where margins for error are slim and many sections are still lined only with metal barriers and traditional tire walls. Jann Mardenborough was driving a Nissan GT-R Nismo GT3, a car built on the foundation of the iconic Japanese sports car, powered by a 3.8-liter twin-turbo V6 producing 550 horsepower. Although mechanically it was an extremely sophisticated machine, one of its most critical features was its aerodynamics. It ran a front splitter, a nearly flat floor, and a rear diffuser paired with a large rear wing to generate downforce. However, any vehicle that produces large amounts of aerodynamic downforce can also fall victim to the opposite effect when airflow starts behaving in unexpected ways. At the start of lap 7, the Nissan GT-R was approaching floodplats, a section taken at essentially full throttle, where any variation in speed meant a significant loss of lap time. As the Nissan climbed toward the crest, the suspension began to compress under the shape of the terrain itself. As the uphill gradient disappeared and the descent began immediately after, the suspension suddenly stopped bearing the same load it had carried just tenths of a second earlier. At that instant, the airflow beneath the flat floor changed dramatically. While the car stayed pressed to the asphalt, the diffuser and the rest of the aerodynamic components generated downforce. However, as the gap between the ground and the chassis widened even slightly, more air began flowing beneath the car. That extra airflow raised the pressure under the flat floor and very rapidly stripped away the downforce available on the front axle. With the front axle essentially unloaded, the Nissan's nose began to lift, sending it flying toward the outer edge of the track along what was almost a straight-line trajectory. Before reaching the main barrier, the car slammed violently into a set of protective tires, and although they absorbed part of the energy, they couldn't stop the car's motion entirely. In fact, they had the opposite effect, acting as a pivot point that abruptly changed the Nissan's orientation. That rotation sent the car even higher into the air, and instead of losing energy and staying contained within the track, the Nissan followed an upward trajectory that carried it clean over the metal barrier meant to protect spectators, completing nearly a full flip before landing upside down in an area reserved for the crowd. The force of the impact destroyed almost the entire outer bodywork, crushed the roof, and tore off numerous aerodynamic components, though fortunately, Mardenborough was able to climb out of the car under his own power. The dynamics of the crash sent the car and numerous fragments hurtling into the spectator area, tragically resulting in the death of Andy Gehrman, a 49-year-old spectator who suffered severe injuries, and passed away shortly afterward at the circuit's medical center. Several other people were also injured to varying degrees, either from the direct impact of the car or from debris thrown during the collision. The initial investigations focused on determining whether the crash had been caused by mechanical failure, driver error, or an issue with the car's design itself, though the subsequent inquiry ruled out all of those possibilities. Instead, the investigation identified the car's aerodynamics, the layout of the track itself, and irregularities in the asphalt at the top of the floodplaats rise as potentially contributing factors. Both the racing authorities and the Koblenz Public Prosecutor's Office ultimately classified the incident as an accidental crash. The criminal investigation found no individual responsibility and determined there had been no negligence on the part of the driver, the team, or the event organizers. The investigation ultimately concluded that the accident resulted from an exceptional combination of circumstances that pushed the car beyond the limits its aerodynamics and the track's safety barriers had been designed to handle. If you enjoy what we do and want to support the channel, we'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe and leave us a like. Your support makes it possible for us to continue producing these technical analyses and accident reconstructions. Finally, before we wrap up, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments and find out who you think was really responsible for this crash. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the comments and I'll catch you in the next video.